The following program, Live and Learn, is made possible by Aging Partners. Find out more on their website.
Hi everyone. Lincoln is an age-friendly community. Thanks to the work of Aging Partners, members of the Mayor's leadership team, AARP Nebraska, and those from the community, we are now seeing this initiative come to fruition. Joining us today are two leaders in this particular initiative, Randy Jones, Director, Aging Partners, and Todd Stubendek, State Director, AARP Nebraska. You'll want to stay tuned.
Home ownership is something that everybody wants to do at some point in their life. And once you have your home, you certainly don't want to lose it to some fraud. So today I'm going to talk with Kelly Cunningham, who is a legal counsel for Charter Title, and we're going to be talking about this latest fraud that's available to anybody. Could happen. It's called deed theft. So stay tuned. I hope you learned something.
This and more on today's Live and Learn.
Hi everyone, I'm Julie Masters, and we are in for a treat today. Joining us today, Randy Jones, Director of Aging Partners, and Todd Stubendek, State Director of AARP Nebraska. They're here to bring us up to speed on what's been happening with age-friendly Lincoln. Gentlemen, welcome to Live and Learn.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Oh, just delighted to see you both. I know the weather is a little similar to what we had the last time that you were here on Live and Learn. So I think for some of our viewers, they may be very familiar with the age-friendly concept, but we might have a few new viewers. And so with that said, Todd, can you talk a little bit about what is age-friendly?
Yeah, let me start with some stats first. By 2034, we will, for the first time in our nation's history, have more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 18.
Wow.
By 2060, 1 in 4 Americans will actually be over the age of 65. So we are aging as a nation, and by the way, that's good news, not bad news.
Agreed.
There are advantages. Now, communities will going to face challenges because of this aging demographic, but it also creates great opportunities for communities who are ready to meet that challenge and who have taken the steps to make themselves an age-friendly community. So back in 2012, AARP saw this and wanted to provide a framework and resources for communities to help make themselves more age-friendly. So we created the Network of Age-Friendly States and Communities. And this network is AARP provides, again, sort of the resources, best practices, but it is a community-driven process to assess the good things, the bad things about age-friendly within a community. It allows that community then to set up an action plan of things they want to improve. They do that over a several-year period, and then there's an assessment of how they've done, and maybe a re-upping of going through that process. Now, when Lincoln joined 2 years ago, they were the 846th, maybe the 847th community to join the network.
Wow.
We welcomed in the 1,000th community last fall. A community in New York joined it. So, and I found this stat the other day, and it blows my mind. 40% of Americans now live in an area that is covered by the Network of Age-Friendly States and Communities. And so it's a process that's community-driven, again, to help them meet those challenges of an aging population and create those opportunities as well.
What a tremendous accomplishment for AARP, the 1,000th age-friendly community. Now, Lincoln has also joined another community in Nebraska, and they were first. Can you talk a little bit about that particular initiative?
Yeah, so the Grand Island is the other community that's already a part of the Network of Age-Friendly States and Communities, and I think they joined back in 2019, I believe. And so they've gone through their process and done it, and they continue to implement the work that they do. You know, sometimes people ask us, you know, why does AARP choose a certain community or not choose a different community to be a part of this? And I always say, we don't choose. It's the community that raises their hand and say, we want to do this. And so in Lincoln, it was a group of folks who had talked about this for a while, and they moved the process forward. And we were very grateful that in her second term, Mayor Lyrian Gaylor-Baird made livability one of her platforms that she wanted to work on for Lincoln, and that she chose then joining the Network of Age-Friendly States and Communities as a central pillar of that effort to make Lincoln more livable. So for a community, they have to have folks who are ready to start this process. And then they need the endorsement from an elected official, whether it's a mayor, a governor, if it's a state that's joining, or a county commissioner, county commission that does it for counties, to endorse the effort and to actually apply for it. And then that kicks off that process of a community-driven process.
So it's really a multitude of people that have to sign up, to have to be engaged in this development of an age-friendly concept.
Absolutely, because if you're going to create a plan that changes the way the community works, you need the community involved and you need people. And I think one of the best things about what Lincoln did, and I know you were a part of it, I was a part of it, was just the diversity and the skills and the experiences of the people involved in the process that Randy and his team brought together. It was inspiring to be a part of some of those meetings. So many great ideas from so many great people and such a great cross-section of Lincoln involved in this process.
You said that beautifully, because truly the people that were represented, whether it was transportation, parks and recreation, the food bank, just a whole host of people really committed to seeing Lincoln being more of an age-friendly community. Now, Randy, age-friendly includes 8 domains, and I understand, Todd, that not all cities take on all 8 domains, but it's a selective process in terms of which domains. So can you talk a little bit about the 8 domains?
Sure.
And then the ones that Lincoln has chosen to embrace?
Sure. All 8 of those domains are very important to livability. And the ARP model that we used was to ask questions in the community, survey the community, and find out what is important to the aging population that lives here in our community. So we did that, and we had about 700 participants through surveys and listening sessions who provided that feedback. Our steering committee, of which you're part of and Todd's part of as well, identified what are those top priorities we want to focus on to be successful.
So those domains, when you talk about livability, include everything from housing to civic participation and employment. So let's talk a little bit about those.
Sure. And so the ones that you see here that are in dark blue, the housing, social participation, respect and inclusion, transportation, civic participation, were those that were selected by the steering committee for us to begin focusing on. And the feedback that we had from over 700 community members, and we held listening sessions as well that was facilitated by the University of Nebraska. And what we learned was, first of all, we're starting at a really good place. Lincoln is already an age-friendly community. We just want to do better.
Wow.
And so with that, we also heard that seniors like to live independently as long as they can. And we want to provide an environment that allows them to live their lives independently, whether that be in their homes, whether that be in access in the community to stores and to civic buildings and civic opportunities and participation. So they very much want to live independently. But some need help with modification of homes. Some need to have access to more affordable and low-income housing. And we have a great public transportation system here, but many have not used that transportation. So it's educating the public on what's available with our public transportation already and working with the city transportation department to determine, are there better ways we can serve an aging population and what resources are out there. We also all of us like to be involved civically, whether that's going to movies or attending events. And we want to make sure that there's opportunity for everyone to participate in those engagement opportunities. We certainly learned with COVID how detrimental isolation can be. Right. And so we want to combat that by making these outside opportunities available and accessible.
Isn't that terrific? When you talk about aging and livable communities, what I think is interesting, you haven't talked about health, you haven't talked about disease. What you've talked about is livability. You've talked about quality of life and things that can really enhance the aging experience. So we've talked a little bit about what you've learned about in terms of what people need and their interests in terms of the surveys and these amazing listening sessions that you held with a variety of people across the city. And we've also talked a little bit about the people that serve on the steering committee. Can you talk a little bit more, so for our viewers, who's represented on the steering committee and what have you discovered about their insights that are helping to contribute to this idea of age-friendly Lincoln?
Sure. University of Nebraska Public Policy Center facilitated these discussions, and they did an excellent job of identifying up front who are those professionals in the community who have their fingers in these various domains. Our steering committee also provided contacts for these folks in the community, and they range from professionals like architects and engineers, public transportation experts, to social service agencies and cultural centers. And you know, in applying this process not only will result in actual activities, but the other success is it's educated our professional community and others about the need for us to incorporate aging issues into our everyday plans and business. And we've already seen that with many of the city projects that are happening right now. So that's an added benefit. And these professionals many of the professionals have agreed, even after the listening sessions, to work with us as we develop these projects. I'm certainly not an expert at affordable housing, but we have experts on the team that can help guide us.
You know, thank you for that, because isn't it, it's a wonderful kind of side benefit to think now you have people in leadership in Lincoln who are looking at the aging experience in a different way. And Todd, you have this wonderful way of saying about if it's age-friendly, how it benefits everyone.
Yeah, I could see someone listening to this who's younger saying, well, so what? You know,
Exactly.
Is this good for me? Well, hopefully one day they too will be older and will benefit from this. But our goal from AARP is to make our communities rural, urban, suburban, better places for all people to live. And so if we're providing more affordable housing options, if we're making our streets safer for pedestrians, if we're improving green spaces and making them more accessible, guess what? We're making it great for people over 50, but we're making it great for people of all ages. And I'll say one of the things I thought was interesting about our steering committee process, and this is, again, how many great things Lincoln is already doing, how many great things that were age-friendly that Lincoln were doing. And so this process was also really, really beneficial, I think, in bringing those things all together and all to light, that there are already things happening, and maybe people didn't know it, and so it connected a lot of dots. I talked a lot in the sessions about finding the low-hanging fruit, finding the things that are already being done and making sure that it is called out in this action plan so that a bigger swath of people know that these things already exist and the city is already doing them. I remember 2 years ago I stood and said, we all know that Lincoln's already a pretty great city. This process is only going to make it better.
You said that so well, aging in terms of Lincoln and being enhanced through the different people that are represented on the steering committee. That truly is being realized. So, you know, we've kind of touched on this, but let's maybe for the viewers, as far as this age-friendly Lincoln, how do you think it's doing?
Well, we've put together a strong plan that's involved many of these experts, and we've received endorsement now from the city. The next step is to go to AARP at the national level and get their endorsement on it. And this plan it's actually a full 3-year plan. We've been through the planning phase for a year. We have 2 more years for implementation. So we'll be implementing these projects over the course of the next 2 years. Some of them we've already been doing to get started on the plan, and our digital literacy training for seniors is one great example of that. And we pair up in an intergenerational environment college students from the University of Nebraska with seniors who have equipment of their own. Maybe it's a cell phone or laptop computer, and they want to know how to make it work for them. So it's been fun conversations. It's been great to pull those intergenerations together. and the seniors leave with answers to their questions on how to use technology. And that opens a world open to them in terms of communications, access to information as well.
Well, and kudos to you, kudos to Aging Partners, you know, as the pioneering area agency on aging in the state of Nebraska. All the things that you have done and continue to do to ensure that people can age in a very productive and healthy way. And this is just one more, if you will, in that spoke of your delivery of services, just one more thing that you're doing to really enhance the aging experience. You know, if you could wave a magic wand, that's that proverbial, what would you like to see happen with Age Friendly overall in terms of the state, but in the U.S.?
Well, I told you that the stat that blew me away this week was 40% of Americans live in an area that's covered under the network of Age Friendly. Why can't we get that to 100%? Why can't every community or every state engage in this process? Given the demographics that I talked about earlier, I think that communities are really shorting themselves and their citizens if they aren't thinking down the road of what their community is going to look like as we get older. And like I said, I always have to add that caveat, is aging, well, it's better than the alternative, and it's not a bad thing. It strengthens, and it's a representation
Absolutely.
of how much healthier, better lives that we're living today, that we are living longer. And I think the communities that are going to thrive in the future are the ones who have figured out how to tap the potential of their older citizens to continue to be productive members of those communities.
That's a beautiful thing to say. How to tap into the abilities, the gifts, the skills of aging adults in a way that serves to give back to the community. So thinking about giving back to the community, and I suspect our Live and Learn viewers are thinking, wow, what's next? Is there anything I could do to get involved? How can I make a difference? So,
Sure.
Randy?
What I think the focus for our senior community is to identify the skills that they have, the talents they have, the opinions they have, and apply it to our public policies and our public decision making. My goal with this process is not to end the plan in 2 years. It's really to help people think about accessibility and think about seniors in everything they do, and that it just becomes part of our culture as a society. And part of that is engagement of older persons in our processes. And what I would ask the viewers to do is be mindful of what policies are going on at the state or at the local level, and get involved. Get involved with city committees. Get involved with volunteerism. There's such a powerful contribution that our senior community can make, and let's keep those ideas and keep those livability needs in front of our policymakers and in front of our agencies, and let's just make this part of the routine of what we live in.
You know, and so well said. And when we think about the research that's been done on people that are actively engaged, it enhances their sense of meaning and purpose. But a side benefit is it also has a positive impact in terms of overall health, physical health, cognitive health, emotional health, social health. So all those things, talk about waving a magic wand that can have just pay dividends. So gentlemen, I truly could talk to you all day because you are just amazing people, amazing champions for the aging experience. And as someone who's aging myself, I think, okay, the world's in good hands when you all are involved. So a question I ask all our guests, and always struck by the responses. What gives you hope? And Todd, maybe we'll start with you, and then Randy.
Sure.
Thank you.
I remember you asked me this question last time we were here.
Yes, I did.
And I'm remembering my answer to it, and I think it's still the same answer. Is one of the things that gave me hope was being in those meetings that we've had over the last 2 years with these amazing people in Lincoln who all had these wonderful ideas and were doing great things in the community. So it's that sort of civic participation that's already occurring that gives me great hope, tapping into people who are older that have these great experiences and getting them involved in this process as well. So I have hope because I've seen great things happening in this community already, and I know that they're going to keep on doing it.
Oh,
What gives me hope and excites me is that we, through osmosis, through this process, through the number of aging citizens we have in the community, we're already doing a really great job of implementing age-friendly activities. And when I see Parks and Rec Department gearing their park structure around the needs of seniors, no one had to come to them and tell them they needed to do it. It was just part of their thinking process. And so what gives me hope is that more and more we're seeing the inclusion of the entire community in trying to adapt our community to the aging population. That gives me hope.
that's beautiful. Well, Randy, Todd, on behalf of the Live and Learn viewers and all the people that are benefiting from this idea of age-friendly Lincoln, thank you both very much. Thanks for being part of this particular program. And to our viewers, remember, it's never too late to live and learn.
So, I'm playing with the dog, and I get this robocall from the Social Security Administration saying my card had been suspended and I had to call them back immediately. And that's when I remembered a tip from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Random robocall? This is a Social Security scam.
Recognize fraud sooner,
Robots.
so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hi, I'm Barb Tyler, and I'll be talking with Kelly Cunningham today, who is an attorney, specifically legal counsel for Charter Title. We're going to talk about the latest scam that's going around with home ownership. People want to own a home, and once you have it, you certainly don't want to lose it. So Kelly, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, how you got interested in being an attorney and specifically with real estate.
Yeah, so it's really a family business, and you know my family very well, but my mom and dad were both involved in real estate. My dad's an attorney, my mom was paralegal. They started a title insurance company in the early 80s, and so we've just been doing that, for a very long time.
Did you ever have any other interests besides real estate?
I wanted to be a divorce attorney. Actually, that's originally why I went to law school, but what's great about what I do is I kind of touch all of those things in real estate closings. You're dealing with divorces, you're dealing with estates, you're dealing with real estate, contract law, so I get to do all of the things.
Well, I didn't know that, so that's interesting. So today specifically, I wanted to talk about the concern that has come about that I've been reading about, not just for seniors, but for any homeowner or for anyone who has a mortgage, this deed theft or title theft, they're calling it too. Can you tell us about that and how does it happen?
Yeah, so if you would have asked me about this 5 years ago, I would have said, it's not really happening here. But unfortunately, it has moved into our market. And what it is scammers, fraudsters will see a property that maybe doesn't have a mortgage on it or does, depending on the type of scam, and they do fraudulent activity to get money out of that real estate. In my experience, it's been properties without a mortgage. They fraudulently list the real estate and they sell it, and then they take the money. Extremely messy from a title perspective, because now you have two people who think they own the real estate, and really only one of them does. So very hard to unwind. I do know there are scams where people are taking the equity out of the home as well, getting mortgages, things like that. I've never seen that, but I have seen a fraudulent sale.
Well, that's interesting. More than if you don't have a mortgage than if you do. Because I suppose the bank is another layer of...
The bank is another layer of protection. So these scammers target properties that are vacant. It's kind of hard to sell a house when there is somebody who lives in a home, right? And so vacant land, lots, a vacant rental property, things of that nature, farm, ground would be something else to consider, where you don't need to tour an inside to buy it. If that makes sense, you know, you
That's becoming, with the internet, that's true. I've known some sales that, you know, bought it off the internet, sight unseen, basically.
Exactly. And so
that's scary.
those are typically the properties that are targeted.
Oh, that's scary. So how does a typical property owner then find out about the scam and if it's happening to them, and what are the warning signs?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's very hard to discover. And so in my circumstance where I was involved, the property owner lived in Columbus, Nebraska. He just happened to be driving through town, and it was here in Lincoln, and saw that somebody was breaking ground on his real estate.
On a lot?
Yeah, a lot. And he had not hired anybody to be there. So he goes up to those people and says, "What are you doing here, and who told you to be here?" And that's when the fraud was discovered. Well, thankfully, that new buyer had not done much work. They were just starting to break ground. But can you imagine if they had built a home or an apartment on there, and then, you know, then what would have happened? So very hard to discover. Typically, you know, you may get weird mailings, weird calls. You may not get your tax bill. That would be like one trigger point as well. But, you know, you only get your tax bill once a year. So it's very hard to discover.
So, in my little research, if you're a landlord, there would be tenant issues?
Yes, especially if it's a rental property and they sell it, then they're trying to rent with new people. Usually this is happening with owners that are not near the real estate, right? They're not keeping a really close eye on the real estate, so it's able to get down the
So
line.
those scammers are researching the owners as what to find where they're.
100%. They're looking through the public record and seeing that people are located maybe in a different city, a different state, and they are targeting those properties.
And it said to always check your credit report, because there can be unexpected home loans, as well as maybe you're getting some interest calls from people that say, "Hey, you know, I wanted to buy that. What did that sell for?" or something like that.
Yeah, and that would be a trigger, especially if you had not listed it. And actually, we had another one where it felt a little scammy and fraudulent, and it was a dentist out of Norfolk. And so many title companies had called that dental office that the front desk receptionist knew to say, "He's not selling that real estate. That is not him. That is a scam." So it's scary, yeah.
So our home is paid off. How do you protect yourself, or if these issues do come up? So it's already happening. What
Yeah.
happens then?
So if it is already happening and it has sold, the best thing to do,
Sold the second time.
correct,
supposedly.
fraudulent sale is how I label it. I really think the best thing to do is try to find the title insurance company who insured that fraudulent sale,
The fraudulent.
because they are on the hook. Now they have a bona fide purchaser and a landowner, and there is a title claim. So they're essentially the people who are going to have to walk that back some way and pay the legal claims, even though they would really be representing the insured, so the fraudulent purchaser. They would be involved in the transaction, would be able to help unwind the situation.
And the fraudulent purchaser is really innocent often.
Really, they are an unknowing victim as well.
So if you monitor your records, this says you get a fraud alert. I've never had that happen, but does it come across like bing, 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 or what?
Yeah, and I know the Lancaster County Assessor Register of Deeds Office is looking into doing title theft protection for people. And other counties in the country are doing this, where if a deed transfers, they'll mail you a letter, and basically the letter says like, "Hey, we see there was a transfer. If this was you, you don't have to do anything. But if this was not you, here are the next steps." And so that's really helpful.
So just thinking out loud here, so if as a title person, is that something at closing, when I go to close on a house, is there something that you provide, an extra layer of insurance? or is that another cost?
So
or-
it would be, so that what I was just discussing would be a service provided by the county, and nobody
Okay.
would have to pay any addition. I mean, we'll probably end up paying taxes for it to get that service, but it wouldn't be an additional protection. Right now, as far as I know, Lancaster County doesn't have anything like that. So you can get an additional product called Title Lock. You can Google that, and they have different plans, but essentially they'll be checking the records every day on your real estate, and if there is a transfer, they'll notify you right away. Timing is really critical with this because, in the situation I was involved in, there was about 7 months between the time that the purchase happened
The fraudulent
and the time,
purchase.
yes, and the time the fraud was discovered. And so that's a long time, right? And so if you can get notified that day and start walking it back, the liability is just so much lower.
So one way too, if you're expecting mail about this, so missing bills or something,
Sure.
Then you can contact the title reputable title insurance agency that closed on your original house.
Yes,
Right.
and they would be able to help you kind of figure that out. You could call and say, hey, I just have a feeling something's not right here. Can you help me? And they would be able to help you.
Okay.
Every title company in the area they're very good at their jobs and they're very helpful people, so they will work with you to figure out what's going on.
Well, that's scary and good at the same time. So,
Yes, yes.
so if someone suspects they're a victim, so how do they go about clearing it up? Call the police, or what's the first 1, 2, and 3 steps?
I always recommend calling the local police isn't really going to do anything.
Okay.
To understand, you can and you can report it. In general, these are criminals that are located internationally. I'm just going to be honest with you. They're not even here. So go to ic3.gov. That is where you can report internet crime. Essentially, this is a type of wire fraud. And that's a long, convoluted way to get to wire fraud, but that is how they define it. So you would contact IC3. I think more than anything, the government is just tracking this. They want to know how often is this happening. But then I would also recommend, if you really need help and you're having a hard time with a title company or whoever, to contact a real estate attorney who can kind of walk you through how to unwind it. And then hopefully there will be coverage through your title insurance for that real estate attorney in defending your title to the real estate.
And I suppose if you have a mortgage, you contact your lender.
Yes.
And monitor credit reports, or is that something that's always done by the bank or whoever?
No, I think if you aren't doing any purchasing or lending at that time, you would want to make sure that you're monitoring your credit in some other way so you can see if somebody is using your equity,
Okay.
fraudulently.
So I imagine too, you can change your passwords if that's an issue. So if you don't take steps to clear this up, then what could happen? I mean,
It's really bad. Honestly, I mean, in the case that I was involved in, had the entity that had purchased that real estate built a home, that was the plan. They were building a home on that lot. The legal liability of unwinding that transaction much later would have been very, very challenging.
and that takes a long time, I
It's just
imagine.
it's a pain in the butt. At the end of the day, would the landowner probably get the land recovered to them? Sure, but getting there would be very challenging.
And it had to go through courts, so this would take a while.
Attorneys, and I was very lucky in our circumstance that the buyer was like, you know what, we'll just deed the real estate back to that person. And then we, the title company, had to provide the buyer with their money because the money was gone. We had fraudulently wired the buyer's money to a bad guy, right? And so then we covered that buyer's.
And you have insurance too, so.
Right. It's and it just takes time and it's a pain in the butt. So the sooner you can identify it, the better.
So anything else we should know about this?
I really just think if you are somebody who owns real estate in a county or a city where you do not live, and that real estate is vacant especially, it may be worth looking into getting some sort of protection for yourself.
Well, thanks for coming in today. This was interesting. I had kind of an idea what I wanted to talk about, but you brought some other ideas up, so I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And thanks so much for tuning in today. Remember, it's never too late to live and learn.
I was doing some shopping and got a pop-up on my laptop. Computer had a virus. So I called the number on the page, and the guy on the phone wants to take control of my screen to sort it out. Then I remember a tip I got from the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Control my screen. This is a tech support scam. Thankfully, my order still went through.
Recognize fraud sooner so your money lives longer. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
Hi, I'm Stevie, personal trainer and healthcare educator at Aging Partners here in Lincoln. I'm going to invite you for a morning workout today. Whether you woke up feeling stiff, refreshed, energized, needing to wake up, we're going to start that up. This workout is not about being perfect. It is not about going as hard as you can. This is about having some grace and dignity with ourselves and just going and doing what we can do. And it's about beginning to get those small wins and build our foundation. All right, we're gonna start with a little refresh. Our posture and our breathing reset for this morning. We're gonna sit nice and tall in our chairs, whether you want your palms up or palms down, whatever you want. Our feet are going to be flat on the floor, about hips width apart. A great way to figure out if you're in hips width apart is going to be, can you get 2 fists in between your feet? Now, maybe you don't want to bend over all that time. Just think to yourself, can I get a grapefruit in between my ankles? And if you can get a grapefruit in between your ankles, you're gonna be nice and lined up the whole way through. If you can get that space in between your ankles, your knees are gonna be even with your hips, gonna be even with your shoulders. And that's just gonna line us up and set us up for a nice straight arrow. So we're sitting nice and tall. We're gonna inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. One more time, inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Our chest is nice and open, our shoulders are straight, our back is nice and straight. Perfect. Now we've reset our body for the morning. Now while we're breathing, we're gonna always inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. While we're doing that, these first few breaths, just do a body scan and think about, what does my shoulders feel like today? What do my hips feel like? How do my knees feel? Is anything talking to you? Do you feel good? How much can you move? You have to give yourself grace and dignity with every workout because every day is different. So we're not the same every day. So don't expect yourself to do everything the same every day. We have to give ourselves grace. So going through that body scan, thinking about what we can do. The next inhale we do, shoulders coming up, exhale, chin dropping all the way down. We're stretching the neck on the back, dropping those shoulders forward. Inhale through the nose, lifting those shoulders up again. Exhale, shoulders coming back down. All right, we're gonna start with some tiny little neck rolls. We're gonna use our nose as our guide and we're going to draw little circles. We're gonna go 3 circles to the right, giving a pause, and 3 circles to the left. We always wanna do an even side, an even number on each side because we don't wanna feel wonky. You don't wanna do 5 neck rolls on one side and 2 neck rolls on the other. Always an even amount. All right, perfect. Getting that neck loosened up a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and get bigger with our movements going down. We're gonna roll those shoulders. We're going backwards 3 times. Back nice and straight. And the shoulders, we're going forward 3 times. Really waking up those shoulders and that chest. On our inhale, pulling those hands back, pulling our elbows back, really expanding that chest. And our inhale, bringing those shoulders up, rounding out those shoulders. This is going to be a seated cat-cow. So if you've ever known to be a cat-cow to where you have to get on your hands and knees on the floor, this is how you do a seated cat-cow. So we're going to inhale from the nose, bringing our hands up our thighs, opening up that chest, rolling out those shoulders and lifting that chin. That's our inhale. Exhale, we're bringing our hands back down our thighs. We're rolling those shoulders forward, caving our chest in and tucking that chin. Back on our inhale, coming back up over those legs, opening up that sternum, opening up that chest, really expanding. One more time on our inhale, coming all the way back down, caving that chest in, really tucking that chin. All right, back to our neutral position. We're going to go ahead and wake up our legs with a little seated march. This will warm up the bottom of our feet, get the blood pumping clear to the brain, all the way back down to the feet, get us nice and moving. Another thing that helps out is leg drops. Maybe you just don't have, seated marches aren't for you. You can always do a leg drop. A leg drop, we're gonna scoop our leg underneath that thigh, pick it up, and just drop it. We're gonna scoop it up, pick it up, and drop it. All the blood that is pulled to the bottom of our foot has instantly shot all the way back up and refreshed itself. So now all the blood is fresh in our body. We're ready to go. We're nice and warm. Leg drops are also wonderful if you have osteoporosis because it's controlled impact. So we're controlling the impact and we're strengthening our bone density while we're doing that. So if you don't do leg drops and you have osteoporosis, work them into your program. They're great. They're fantastic. All right, now that our feet are all warmed up, our body is all warmed up, we're gonna go ahead and stand and do a toe and calf raise. If you don't want to do this standing, you can still do it seated. You just raise on up. All right, so I'm going to stand behind my chair here. We're going to come up on the toes, and we're standing nice and tall. All the way up, and then coming all the way back down. All right, here we go. We're going to do a set of 10. Coming on up, 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Up. 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Up. 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Up. 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Up. 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Up. 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4, up, 2, 3, 4, and down, 2, 3, 4. Last 2, 2, 3, 4, and down, 2, 3, 4. Final 1, 2, 3, 4, and down, 2, 3, and 4. Relax that out. All right, you can do a set of 2 of those. That would be great. We usually do 2 sets of 10 in our Aging Partners Strong Body class. That's evidence-based, and that helps us really progress. We're gonna go from our toe raise to either a sit to stand or a squat, whatever you're capable of. We gotta just be dignified and gracious with ourselves in the moment and every morning. All right, so our sit to stand now is we're just going to come to a sit, going to a stand. If this is too much of a motion for you, it's early in the morning, we don't know what's going on, maybe it serves you better and we're starting at the beginning to just push off of our legs. So we're just coming up. Maybe we do a couple pulses right here, getting that rocking motion. If that feels good and we can do the full sit to stand, that's fabulous. If the sit to stand is easy for you, it's not easy for me. But if it's easy for you, let's go for a squat. So a squat, we're gonna take our chair, we're gonna come either behind it if you need a little more balance. Our back is going to be nice and straight. We're gonna widen that toe base. Our toes are gonna be pointed outwards. Our chest is gonna be nice and open, shoulders back, and we're just sinking into those legs, coming back up. It's a nice, gentle squat. You don't need a lot of depth. All we're doing is working the legs. We're working our thighs, we're working our quads, our hamstrings, our glutes, and our calves. And that's why we also did that toe raise before, because we stretched our legs out. So this will be a little bit easier. All right, so getting in our position for our set of 10 squats, our chest, sternum is going to be nice and open, shoulders open, back nice and straight, and we're just sinking into those nice strong legs. Coming down, 2, 3, 4, up in 2, 3, 4, down in 2, 3, 4, up in 2, 3, 4, down in 2, 3, 4, up in 2, 3, 4, down in 2, 3, 4, up in 2, 3, 4, down in 2, 3, 4, up in 2, 3, 4, down in 2, 3, 4, up in 2, 3, 4, down in 2, 3, 4, up in 2, 3, 4, down in 2, 3, 4, up in 2, 3, 4. Last 2, 2, 3, 4, up in 2, 3, 4. Final 1, 2, 3, 4, up in 2, 3, and 4. Relaxing that out. Good job. All right, here we go. Going into our row, we're going to do our set of row. We're going to stand nice and tall, hinging that hip. Before we did the squat, we're sinking into the legs. The difference, a good morning, we're hinging that hip, right? The hip hinge is very, very important for the foundation and our independence. So we really have to get good on those hip hinges. All right, standing nice and tall. Our hands are just going to go straight down our legs. Our back is going to be nice and straight. Coming down, hinging that hip. Pushing those hips out, the hands are coming all the way down. And then just let them dangle and hang right in front of you. All right, turning our palms together. We're going to pull our elbows back as tight as we can and then relax them all the way down. Pulling all the way back, relaxing all the way down. If you have hand weights at home, you can use those. If you want to use soup cans at home, they weigh about a pound. You can use those. And we're going to do a set of 10 right here. All right, here we go with our row. Coming up, 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Last 2. 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, 4. Final 1. 2, 3, 4, and down. 2, 3, and 4. Relaxing those hands down and hinging that hip to stand right up. Now, if you didn't feel strong enough or sturdy enough to do that standing, we can always do a seated row, but we do have to remember to hinge our hips. So we're going to sit nice and tall in that chair, giving ourselves lots of flexibility, hinging that hip. Our hands are going to come straight out, palms facing each other, just like the original standing. And we're squeezing those elbows up real nice and tight, and then relaxing them down. So here's the modification for the seated row, just as effective as the standing row. Working those back muscles and getting our shoulders nice and open. All right, perfect. We're going to finish out with some seated core for our final main exercise today. We're going to stay seated, sitting nice and tall, shoulders open, chest open. Take a good inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. One more time. Inhale through the nose, And exhale through the mouth. All right, beginning our core, all we're gonna do is hold on to our chair. We're gonna brace ourselves and we're gonna pull our knees straight up. Everything with the core sounds so simple until you do it. So don't be intimidated if this is hard. All right, here we go. We're gonna inhale and pull up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Relaxing that down. Whew. So not only is that core, that's actually a lot of hip work. So maybe we need to loosen our hips on that one. We can open and close the gate before we start another core exercise. And that's perfectly fine. We're giving our body grace and dignity, relaxing and stretching as we work out, and that is the perfect thing to do at this stage of our life. So if we open and close the gate, if you have a chair just on the corners, just imagine that you're stepping over a can, like a big soup can. So we're gonna open and close that gate. Just doing a couple on each side. And that helps loosen those hips from all that core that we did, because that was a lot of work. All right, relaxing that down. Our second set of core that we're gonna do is we're just going to lift one leg straight up and then imaginary that we're transferring a ball from each hand. So we're gonna lift our right leg up and we're just gonna transfer that ball. 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and one more, and 5, relaxing that down. All right, switching off to our left side. We're gonna raise that left leg as much as we can. Maybe today it's this, maybe it's up here. Everyone has a different flexibility and mobility level, so we're not gonna be even with everyone. So you don't have to try and get your leg as high as mine. Maybe it's just coming straight out. As long as it's off the floor, that's all that we care about. All right, transferring that ball, going again, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relaxing that down. All right, giving some feet taps, relaxing those hips, moving back and forth. Relaxing that down. All right, so that was our core. We did our toe raise, we did a squat, we opened up our shoulders, we worked our arms, and we finished out with some nice strengthening core. We're gonna finish out with our cool down. We're gonna take some nice gentle neck rolls, just bringing them down, dropping from side to side. We're gonna inhale through the nose and we're gonna exhale through the mouth. Nice and gentle from side to side. Coming back to center, we're gonna take the right ear to the right shoulder. Just inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. One more time, inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Coming back up to center, we're gonna go to that left side. Taking your left ear, just nuzzling it down as much as it will go. We're not here to try and test ourselves. We're not here for pain. We're just gonna stretch ourselves and be comfortable. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Coming back up to center. Let's give ourselves some shoulder rolls. We're gonna go 3 backwards, nice and wide, and then 3 forwards. All right, let's get our chest involved. We're gonna stir that cauldron 3 times, large to the right, and now 3 times to the left. We gotta get each side equally. Perfect. Rolling out those shoulders. Now we're going to go down to our hips. We're going to work on our hips a little bit. So we're going to do those open and close the gates on each side. Just going to open them up and then closing. All right. Now we're going to get our hamstrings, and how we do our hamstrings is we're going to place our heel down, our toe is going to be straight up, and we're hinging that hip forward. And we do not need very much movement to stretch that muscle because that is very tight right there, and it just gets it with just the slightest little hip hinge. And unfolding ourselves out of that, we're going to switch to our opposite side. Heels down, toes straight up, hinging at the hip, and there's that stretch right there. So since we're working on our hips, we're doing that hip hinge. Let's talk about how our back needs to be nice and straight. Our chest is going to be open. Why is a hip hinge so important for us in our independence is how often we drop things on the ground, right? We never want to pick things up with a rounded back. We want to utilize those hips and get that body motion going. If I'm sitting in my recliner and I drop my remote or my glasses, if I roll and go like this, I'm using so much energy and I'm wasting so much space, and that's really taking away my independence. So if I drop something on the ground and I hinge over my hips, I mean, it's so easy to pick up, and that gives you so much more independence. So we're going to hinge our hips and just practice picking something up from the left and the right. We're just hinging our hips. Our back is nice and straight, shoulders open, and we're just picking it up off the floor, nice and easy, giving ourselves back that independence. Not rolling our back and not going around the hips. We're utilizing those hips. We're making them work for us. Perfect. All right, and now finishing up with some ankle rotations, just getting some movement in those ankles. They can be tight, even hard to get a good rotation, even after our toe and calf raise. And then one other thing to finish out our cool down are our finger taps, helping our arthritis in those hands, opening up those hands, fixing and helping that neuropathy, hopefully. When that feels good, we're going to go to a palm touch. Each finger touching down on those palms. And if that feels good, we're going to go into our wrist rotations, clockwise and counterclockwise. And forearm stretch. We're going to hold our arms straight out, pushing with our fingers on our opposite hand, giving a nice stretch to that forearm. And back in. That dexterity is really important. Got to keep our fingers moving. Our grip strength is one of those longevity points of life. I've broke all my fingers twice, so I do this quite frequently. You can always move your fingers as much as you need to because that grip strength is very important for us. All right, there we go. That's our cool down. Before you stand up, just think about how your body feels. Maybe your heart rate's up, maybe your legs feel a little warm, and maybe you're just proud that you showed up and you tried out this new workout. That's a win. All of the consistencies are so much more important than one huge workout. A little bit every day is going to make so much more impact in your life in the long run. So I really challenge you to wake up every morning and just do something little to warm up and work out that body. You're going to feel so much better. You're going to become empowered, have more freedom, and just enjoy your life so much more. Thank you so much for coming. And bringing yourself to this workout. Thank you.